A couple weeks ago, there was this insane deal on Flipkart where you could buy a brand new Sony A6400 with the 1650 kit lens, with a shotgun microphone, and a remote control tripod, all for 50,000 rupees. Now, I thought the deal was fake, but a friend bought it and he actually received it. And that got me thinking. I've never actually made a video about the A6400 on this channel, and I talk a lot about Sony cameras. Well, technically, I did make one video, and that was on the day the camera was released. I made a video sharing my first impressions, but after that, I never talked about the A6400. That's mainly because I don't own the camera, but I know people that do. One of them is Shishir, so I called him up, and he was nice enough to let me borrow his A6400 so that I could make this video comparing the 6400, and the A6300 to help you decide which is the better camera for you to buy in 2020. Well, this 6300 is also now mine. This is Preetham's. My 6300 is currently being used to film this video. Wow, what would I do without my friends? First, let's get pricing out of the way. As of recording this, the A6400 sells for about 80,000 rupees on Amazon India. However, during online sales and in the offline market, you can often find it for under 75. The 6300, on the other hand, well, you cannot officially buy it anymore because it is kind of discontinued. So you are mainly only going to be looking for it in the offline market. And the typical going price for that would be in the 55 to 60,000 range. However, it's not completely uncommon to find deals for under 50k. Yeah, it goes for that low. Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering why my 6300 or why my friend's 6300 looks so different, it's because it is currently wrapped in a Cape's India skin. So go check it out. I'll leave the links in the description if you want to pimp your 6300 or a 6400 or A7 III or any phone or laptop for the matter. Check them out. They make some great quality skins. Now, just to be clear, if you find a crazy deal on the 6400 like the one I mentioned earlier for like 50k, close your eyes and go for it. There's no two ways about it. Like 100% go for it. But obviously most of you on most days are not going to be able to find it for that rate, which is why this video I want to talk about if spending 25k extra to get this over this is actually worth it. In terms of video frame rates and resolution, both cameras are very similar. They have the same sensor, they do the same 8-bit 4K 30 and the same 1080p 120. This one has one additional picture profile, the 6400, which is the HLG. The 6300 does not have it. HLG, for those of you that do not know, stands for hybrid log gamma. It's the sort of middle ground of a picture profile that's actually relatively easy to grade with. It's not as flat as S-Log, but at the same time it's not as contrasty as a standard picture profile or no picture profile. It's like S-Log in the highlights, but a little more contrasty in the shadows. I don't know if I prefer it over S-Log yet, but in my experience, in my limited testing with it, I did find that finding an image or grading an image was relatively easy, and I was able to get the image to look the way I wanted it to look somewhat easily. In fact, you can also deliver it right out of the box. You don't have to necessarily grade it because it does look quite decent, like even without any grades. But if you do want to have that option, you do have that extra latitude or dynamic range in the highlights. Other than that, the main differences between the two cameras lie in the form of convenience features. So firstly, the 6400 has a flip up screen. You can flip it up all the way, and if you're vlogging, you can see yourself. The 6300 does not. This is as far as it'll stretch out, and that's about it. Now, in my first impressions video of the 6400, I said that the flip up screen was straight up useless because when you put a shotgun mic on top of it, you are basically blocking the screen and you won't be able to see the screen. I take that back. I was wrong. While it is true that the shotgun mic will cover your screen, will block your screen, it's not completely useless. In fact, I think it's very handy. In the recent months, I've realized that having a flip-up screen, it gives you a huge level of convenience that you simply cannot argue with. Now, yes, you can probably buy an actual monitor between the money that you save in the difference between these two cameras, but I still think there's nothing as convenient, as practical as just flipping up a screen to view yourself or to check your frame. Yeah, there's just nothing as simple as that, because otherwise you'll have to attach a monitor or rig or something like that. But when you have a flip-up screen, it's just simple. It's right there. You can push it upwards and see yourself. Especially if you're recording yourself like I am right now. I am filming on a 6300. I had a hard time framing it, but if I were filming on the 6400, I could have, but I wanted this in frame. But if I had this to film myself right now, I would have been able to frame myself much faster. So that's a big benefit. The only time I think you can completely get away without a flip up screen is if you know that you're 100% gonna be behind the camera, if you're gonna be an operator and not necessarily record yourself. And about the microphone issue, there are like super small and like well built attachments that will basically help you shift your horseshoe mount to this side, or you can like have it somewhere here. That way you can mount your microphone here or like somewhere here on the side. That way it won't get in your way and you will still be able to see the screen. The 6400 also has a touchscreen, which is quite handy, although it only works to set focus and you cannot use it to navigate menus or change settings. Next, let's talk about the infamous overheating issues, something that Sony cameras have for long suffered from. Is that a correct sentence? I was able to continuously shoot at 4K 24 FPS with the 6400 for over 45 minutes without any overheating symbols, whereas on the 6300, in the same situation, in the same environment, I got the overheating symbol around the 20 minute mark.
Okay, so I'm just doing a overheating and recording limit test with the 6300 and 6400, just shooting a random scene. I've had both cameras. I started them both at 100% battery life. It is now been, I don't know if you can see that, it's now been 21 minutes and 14 seconds since recording. This is the 6400 and it's at 78% battery and there's no overheating symbol. The 6300 on the other hand is at 57% battery and again same 21 minutes 25 seconds, and there's also a overheating symbol. Now this is kind of strange because typically it doesn't happen. Typically I've been able to go until 25, almost 30 minutes in most cases before the overheating symbol appears. So
I would say in most cases you can easily push it past 25 minutes. And at around 30 minutes, you guys may know that this one has a recording limit, 30-minute recording limit, although you can bypass that and record unlimited. If you want to learn more about that, check out my video. I've done a video on how to bypass the recording limit on this camera. In such a situation, you may be able to get past the 30 minutes, but the overheating will still kick in and you won't probably be able to shoot for longer than 35 minutes at best, unless you do some kind of jugaad and put ice cubes and stuff. Yeah, I did that. True story. On the A6400, again, it'll pretty much go as long as your battery lasts. And speaking of that battery life, with this camera, I would say it's at least 20-25% better than this camera's battery life. The A6400 shoots in one battery what I would earlier shoot with this in like 1 1/3 of a battery, if that makes sense. It just generally lasts much longer, and yeah, the battery life is much better, although it's the same exact battery that's being used. Then there's other smaller differences, such as like general better day-to-day performance. The 6400, I believe, uses the same processor as the A9, and so the boot up times are quicker. The general day-to-day usage is faster. Now, the 6400 also has like different menus. It's a little more organized. Sony cameras are notorious for having like horrible menus. Now, if you have not used the Sony camera before, obviously it's not going to matter. But I just thought I would let you know. I've been using the 6300 for the last 2-3 years, and honestly, I'm fine with the menus. I know where everything is right now. So if you're going to be using it for the first time, it doesn't really matter, but just I'm going to put it out there. This one does have better menus. The buffer when you're shooting photos is also much better with the 6400. Just listen to this. And now listen to this. Yeah, the first one was the 6400. It literally sounded like a machine gun to me. On the 6400, I believe you can do, they both 11 FPS, but on the 6400 you can do about 45 raw shots before the 6400 needs to break, versus you can do 22 on this before it needs to take a break. So you're getting almost you're getting twice as much buffer, or you have the ability to shoot twice as many photos before the camera slows down or before the camera asks for a break. On the 6400 also has real-time object tracking, which I did not really mess around with too much, but I do think it's going to be good because across the board their cameras in general, Sony cameras, have like really good autofocus, so I'm not too worried about that. Even on the 6300 was already quite good, so nothing to worry about there. So those are sort of the main differences / upgrades that you get with the 6400 over the 6300. Mainly it comes down to the flip-up screen, the HLG, and the overheating issues or lack thereof. If you care about any of those three, then I think yes, you should save up and get the 6400. Now, I would only save up if the difference is like 25k or less. If it's anything more than that, don't. I mean, it's not really worth it. The difference is probably going to be in like 20, like 15, 20k, depending on where you look. In that case, I think spending the extra is worth it. When I bought the 6300, the 6400 was not out yet, but had it been out, I would have for sure saved up and got this one instead. That being said, though, if you already have a 6300, obviously please don't go out and spend your money on this. Like, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what you should do with your money, but like it simply doesn't make sense to buy this if you already have this, unless you're going to like sell this off and buy this. So yeah, that's the comparison. I highly recommend going down to your local store and checking the devices and also like checking prices, because typically that's where you get the better deal. However, if you are going to be making your purchase online, assuming that's where you're getting the better deal, I would highly appreciate it if you use my link to make your purchase. It's in the description. It's an affiliate link. It gives me a kickback at no extra cost to you. It really helps me out. Other than that, if you're new to the channel, my name is Suraj. I talk about video production, photography, and tech. We also do a weekly live stream every Wednesdays where I go live and check out video work from you guys. So if you are interested in that, consider subscribing to the channel. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.
A lot of shots and a proper storyline.
Gun firing.
I know, right? Machine.
AK-47.
Hello. Where to go?
I don't know. No, bro, 100 is too much. Maybe 15. I don't know. 12, maybe 10 or 12, and then it'll go on to points.